Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Broke Not Broken. I know it's been a minute since I've been on here, but I've been a very busy girl with the current economic environment. I've had to take on a job. I'm working in Muskoka as a landscaper, full-time, 5 days a week. I only have really one day off, and I go back up north to work Sunday at noon. So I got home to a heck of a mess at my homestead. There's Bermuda grass growing everywhere. There's weeds in places that, were weeded out last week, all week. And, the week before all week, I was home. And it's just a bloody nightmare. It's 9 o'clock in the morning and it's 24 degrees already. It's supposed to be about 40 this afternoon. I'm not complaining about the heat. I work in the heat all the time. Unfortunately, I'll be standing on black mulch while working in the heat, and it makes your legs sweat out and you name it. So that's the update on the farm. And why I haven't been on here. But the other reason is I've been taking a break from social media for a little bit. I was getting caught up in, what everybody else was doing, and it just seemed to be too much for me. So I've taken a little sabbatical. The government stuff still hasn't been solved. We're still waiting to hear back. It's not pending, and they haven't done anything to help us, which is wonderful. I'm grateful that they're working on it really quick. Serve people. Just steal your money. So on another note, I learned this week that trust no one, ever. Last weekend we held a yard sale here, and all the money was going to my son to help him with his, his sport of choice, and he's a figure skater. And this year he's able to compete and do whatever. So I was, saving some money for him, putting it away so he could buy his costumes or new skates or whatever he needs. So I had a lovely lady approach me about a set of snips I had out, garden snips, long ones. They're like $60 to buy them new, and I only had them for, $10 or whatever. She asked me if I could set them aside because I was closing the yard sale, and I said, yeah, I'll set them over here for you. And she said, I'll be back with cash. I said, I might not be home, but please leave the cash under the rock. Now, this was an elderly lady, by the way. So I come out later after dinner, and the snips are gone, and there's no money. Odd. Cool. So we had a gentleman stop by earlier in the day and asked me about a corner bookshelf thing. And it was about $10 to buy it. And it was brand new. I assembled it, but it just didn't fit in my space. And I paid probably $60 for it at the time that I bought it. It just didn't work out. And this gentleman, again, we asked him just to put it in the mailbox at the front of the house. My house is cameraed at the front, and he came, took it. Unfortunately, I didn't get a plate, but came and took it, did not leave money at my door, which is unfortunate as well. So these two elderly people stole from my 10-year-old, which is wonderful. But it just shows you where people are right now. I mean, if it's not tied down, they will take it. It's odd. I wouldn't do that, and to anybody. But it's just the climate. I mean, in my community, there was a bunch of little kids that attempted to rob a bank. And about 20 minutes from me, there was a 13-year-old that, held a lady at gunpoint and stole her minivan. Like, I'm wondering what the heck is going on with this world. Well, let's face it, money's tight. People are losing their houses with all these tariffs, grocery prices being insane. That's what's going on. People are losing their bloody minds, and they're not doing anything. They're standing by watching people do stupid things, videotaping it, posting it to social media, and then wondering why the world is a crappy place when you're not willing to step in and stop stupid things from happening. Now, we've been in economic crisis before. Many, many years ago. Great Depression runs top in my head. The housing crisis in the 80s, where, you know, today your interest rate was 5% and then tomorrow it's 22. I mean, the interest rates haven't climbed that much on houses. There's a potential it could. But people are taking out more house loans than ever before. I know a friend of mine just bought a regular bungalow that was a new build, and it was $1 million. It's only worth $190,000 at max, and that was 5 years ago. That's what that house would have sold for. That's insane. Now, for those of you who are watching from the States, I'm Canadian. I mean, the average house cost in my area is about $660,000, give or take. And that's just for a basic bungalow. These ones are a little bit fancier because you get to custom build them. But I'm just throwing that out as an example. So if people are actually looking around in their environment, I know driving back and forth up north, I noticed like full stretches of, houses are for sale that I've never seen for sale before. And at one point, my main street in my home, like where I live, every other house was for sale 2 weeks ago, pretty much. So the question being, are people just not saving money or doing anything for themselves? Or are they depending on, the banks to get them through, bank loans, etc., and then losing their shirts in the end? I don't know. It's a little concerning. But there's a few things like I know you can do about that. Number one, don't buy a house you can't afford. If you can't buy a house, find a rental. If you can't find a rental, I guess buy a trailer. I mean, trailer parks are allowing some parks are allowing people to live there full time. I mean, it's a little cold, but there is that. I know for myself and my family, we don't live in a moneyed area. We live very frugally, and I mean, I grow 90% of our fresh produce in the summer and about 70% of our frozen. But this year's been an odd year. It's August hot here. I mean, I have my fruit bushes, my trees, they're all producing really, really well. My cherry tree all the cherries came off this week, and it was the first year of a, blockbuster year for cherries. I will actually show you the size of this tree. I still have a ladder up there. Excuse the weeds. Like I said, I haven't been home. I'm going to work in this 40-degree weather and get these weeds off before they choke everything today. And, double check everything because it's just kind of gone crazy. But does anybody else out there feel like the rest of the world has gone absolutely insane? People that were generally nice and kind and generous and whatever have all of a sudden turned into the Karens of the world and are proclaimed snots. I've had this experience with people that I adore. Friends of mine have just gone off the deep end since all these tariffs and, since COVID and all the stuff. Last 5 years, it's drastically changed them into totally different people, to the point where, I have cut them out of my life, which is weird because these are people I would never ever think you'd have to cut out. And you might have to do that. You might have to cut people out that are not like-minded, aren't kind, just to save your sanity. So I'm going to show you, end of rant. I'm going to show you the gardens, and I do apologize for, the epic weeds that are going on. but the weather hasn't been helping us at all. It's either been raining really hard or really bloody hot. And like I said, you can only work so hard in 40-degree weather before you're just exhausted. So I'm going to turn the camera around. I'm going to give you a tour of that big garden that I, started this channel with. And it's lush and beautiful. Ignore the grasses. Like I said, Bermuda grass is like the bane to my existence this year. And just take her all in, all right? Now, a lot of my neighbors ask me why I'd plant like this. Well, first of all, I started interplanting food with non-food items because I was having people just randomly walk into my backyard and help themselves to what I was growing. Like I said, I've got, this grass going on. I'm going to get this out. This is ryegrass that's up, and I've got wild morning glories. They don't bother me so much. I like them as long as they're not climbing stuff. I've got, 3 kinds of thistles growing on here. But look at the size of this cherry tree. Like, this thing was loaded last week. And my son's been up there picking it and bringing it in the house before the birds get it, because that's the other battle. It's doing so well. But this is super, super thick and lush, which is what I like to see. The apple trees are doing phenomenal. Let's see, apples on. Now this is a yellow delicious. Now we're coming into my vegetable bed, and like I said, everything just kind of went rogue. Like you can see right here, I've got all kinds of grass taken over and stuff, but I got to get in here today and, take care of suckers. I wasn't going to take care of suckers this year on my tomatoes. I was going to let them just do their thing. I don't mind if they're on the ground a bit. I am going to run a string line on these posts if you can see them. But they just went bananas this week. They did not look like this. It's like a jungle. My black raspberry is going nuts, sir. So I've got, I'm standing. So I've got berries on, and it's full of flowers. Sorry. This is the first year for corn. It's supposed to be knee-high by the 4th of July, and it's already at my shoulder. And I'm 5'4", just for, reference. Now these lettuces, I planted the end of May. They've already gone up in the air. They sprouted and just went straight up. So they're chicken feed at this point. I'm not even going to try to save anything from that. The other lettuces over here are ready to come off. Again, some of them have gone up in the air. Again, chicken feed, waste not, want not. But it's just been too hot. Blueberries are coming on. These are old plants, and I had to prune them back because the winter storm that we got, the ice storm, kind of broke them. But I've got more berries in the back, hidden amongst that lush garden. Like I said, I do apologize about the weeds. This is not what it normally looks like. But like I said, I had a week at work, and my son was watering for me and fertilizing, and everybody knows what happens when you fertilize. It just becomes a nightmare. Now this is my gooseberries, and they look beautiful. They're coming on. They're still way too tart. And this is a 2-year-old plant, so it's pretty big. The zooks are doing great. Now this is a mix of zooks and summer squash. I planted it, it didn't come up, and then it just came up randomly, not even where I planted it. It was all in the center. Have no idea. So I'm guessing these are yellow and I have one green. We'll see once it fruits. Now this is my herb garden. The dill is, I didn't plant this, it's rogue growing. My lavender's doing all right. My little pond, fortunately I don't have it on right now. So I have to get in here and weed out some stuff. I got some Queen Anne's lace growing in amongst the dill here and some odd weeds, but the dill's holding back a lot of stuff. Now, my cucumbers on my cucumber fence. I did plant this whole row out. Now this is a 15-foot row, and unfortunately something stole all the cucumbers from these areas. I trellised it over and let it spill onto the walkway on the other side. It actually looks quite pretty, but these guys so far, I mean, they're putting on flowers and stuff, and you can see that down in there. They're doing very, very well. I do have rogue potatoes in here growing, which is a blessing. I have potatoes on the other side that I planted early spring, and they're doing okay. My kiwi plant is starting to put on fruit. This is the second year I've had it. Last year it just went to flower, did nothing. This year it's starting to, you know, go up the trellis again. This is going to be a lot of work today. We had an epic year for strawberries, and as you can see, they're done. I'm just going to see, because I have 4 different versions of strawberries, and my son has been eating them like crazy, and the birds have been in here. We got some, but the birds have been pecking them, which is fine. You know, they're helping me, so I'll help them. Looks like a big weed mess, but again, I'll clean that up today. Now these beets are the cylinder beets. My Detroit Reds are doing fantastic in the front. As you can see, we got like tomatoes on. Peppers are doing okay with the tomatoes. Like I said, I'm just going to come in here and prune these back a bit and stand them up. They're so big. Oh, I do have some peppers on, but this tomato plant has just gone bananas. Now my front walkway gardens, I had those beetles. They ate my lilies. I gave up on it. My tomato plants out here are being neglected, but they're just rogue growers. See, lettuces are going up in the air. They looked beautiful when I left Sunday night, and today is Saturday, and they're done. So, I mean, like I said, the chickens eat well. I offered it to the neighbors, and they didn't come over to get it, so it's fine. It's like pennies to grow them, so. Now these are, again, onions. We're doing well. I'm gonna weed out here because, like I said, I got sumo weeds. These lilies seem to look better. I believe they're called white lace, but I could be wrong. I planted them, you know, a long time ago. My planters seem to be doing really well. I don't know how I have a weed in here, but I do. But like I said, I hide my food in with lovely things like wave petunias, and give you sorry, the air conditioner's right there. You hear that? But this is my planters. I just put this stuff in 2 weeks ago, and they seem to be doing all right. Just put this off. These were just leftover plants from doing a job, and I didn't have anything, so I just threw them in. I know a lot of you are going to ask me, how do you grow, 90% of your fresh stuff when stuff goes up in the air? Well, those tomatoes behind me, in front of them, there's actually more lettuce planted. I planted it last week, and I'm sorry, my neighbor has decided that now is the time he's going to run a chainsaw, which is okay, totally okay. And planes. So anyway, it's all interplanted. So I've got radishes in the front, lettuces that'll come through. I just gotta pick out, the stuff. And I always keep going forward. I don't get discouraged because, plants didn't come up. I didn't have beans come up this year. I planted them a bunch of times, and they just decided that it was too bloody hot. So I'm using that space for things like carrots are planted in here as well, or I'll throw in, I don't know, a cutting from another tomato plant and let it root. Might produce, might not. A lot of the time it does anyway, just for me, because I'm magical with tomato plants for some reason, and lettuces. I am going to bring out a shade cloth out here, or a replant under the lilacs in the front at some point today, because it gets only early morning sun and then the sun shifts because my house is south facing. So I'll do that today. But I just want to check in with everybody and see how everybody's doing. Because I know for myself, the sheer stress of what's going on in the world, along with, the demands of work and then running a homestead, is just, sometimes it feels impossible. So my favorite saying to myself is, I can only do what I can do. And I know I set my standards pretty high for myself. I mean, weeding this all out, this garden right here is, I think we figured out 1,600 square feet just in that garden alone, the veggie bed, and that includes the walkways. And then the other one is, I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. It's 48 feet long by 15 wide. So whatever the square footage, I'm not doing math right now. It's too early on a Saturday morning, and I've had a very long week of work. But yeah, does anybody else feel bogged down or, just exhausted? It's not just the heat. It's not just the economic climate. It's not just the fact that people are struggling or just being cruel, or, the bills are going up. It's all the things in one. And as I'm just finding it more of a challenge for myself than anything else to get everything done. Like I said, I only have 24 hours to turn this around, and then I go back north. And hopefully my boy and my husband will, my oldest son, he's 16, will keep up with the gardens for me while I'm trying to put away our winter money and contribute to the family income. If not, it just adds more work to my pile, which is okay. I'm mom. I'm used to being a superhero. I don't have a cape, but I'm used to doing it all on my own, and it's totally okay. So I just thought I'd let you guys know what's going on and why I haven't been around, and see if I can find some little pieces of hope for those of you that are struggling in this, and how you can help yourself with some self-sustainable things. I will be bringing out recipes very shortly. As soon as my tomatoes are ready to go, peppers are ready to go, then we'll start working on your winter storage stuff, or technically my winter storage stuff. But thank you guys for watching. See you again.